I just had a request. I wanted to see if you could talk a little bit about um, Sat Chit Ananda,
Mm-hmm.
being, awareness, bliss, and and the idea that the observer does not bring back the state of awareness. It's like there's this loose association kind of in my head or my awareness right now about that. And I guess I'd just like to hear you talk a little bit more about that because I think I'm not unlike a lot of people. I think I have to get back to awareness. There's something I have to do. I intellectually understand that's not true, but I can't seem to stop that behavior. It just keeps coming back.
Mm-hmm. So mm, does that bring a sense of discomfort that I have to get back to awareness? Is there a concern with getting back to awareness?
Sometimes.
Okay. Okay. So the thing is that the mind comes up and says that I must get back to that awareness where I'm happy because this feels a little difficult. Is that it? Or
I don't think that I experience awareness as happiness anymore. I don't relate those two together.
Hmm.
I experience awareness as, words are hard to find to
Yes.
describe it.
Now we're getting it.
Um, the closest, I guess, I hear people use the word pointer, so a word is a pointer to it. And how I experience those moments of awareness is just like it's that space of neutrality.
Yes,
It's
exactly.
that it's that it's not unhappy, but it's not really happy. It's like it is, I think, that bliss state. It's like
Yeah.
it's complete.
Yes. It's empty, but it's complete.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then I find myself out of it,
Yeah.
out of that space,
Yeah.
or separated from that space. I guess I never really leave it. Um, and then I just jump back into that headspace of, okay, I've got to focus on getting back to awareness, which just creates even more separation.
Yes. 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 So even that is,
So
yes. So
it's like a smoking habit or something. I just can't seem to break it.
yes,
And I
exactly.
don't smoke. I guess that's my vice of choice is to separate.
Yeah. So the separation happens, and the separation happens because the mind gets activated in in one particular moment, and it says that I must get hold of the awareness because it feels blissful. It feels, and it is blissful. The moments of awareness are the most peaceful, the most blissful moments. And this is a phase that the seeker goes through where you get that in moments first. You get that in moment, and then the
Mhm.
mind comes up again. Now, what the mind doesn't realize that it is coming up through that awareness only, the awareness that is Satchitananda. Its nature is Satchitananda. So the awareness is Ananda, the bliss, and the mind is the is just an expression of that awareness. It's what Ramesh would say, actualization of the potential, pure potential. Now, the thing is that yes, this is a phase where one sees this happening, and there is an urgency to actually grab hold of that empty fullness, that space, because it feels so blissful. And Ramesh would very, humorously call it uh, free samples. The moments of awareness he would call the free samples to the main dish. What I see is that as this presence or space is recognized more and more, it starts to become one's nature. The mind at some point just realizes that it is here. all the time. And the way again, I can only give a concept here. The way I can explain it conceptually is, so before the insight happened, the subject-object relationship was strong. Me and the others. It was basically me versus the others. So the content of consciousness, all the feelings, the thoughts, the emotions, they were in the foreground. And the awareness was in the background. Now, this is just a concept, okay? Awareness was in the background. So the content was important. The people, oh, he did that, she did this happened, that happened, this event was good, this was not. Then slowly I recognized there was a shift. This content came in the background and the awareness was in the foreground. Now, again, the content would still be there. The mind would be running, spinning up stories. But now there was a wider vision through which it could be seen. So, whatever the mind did in the moment was accepted, and there was no story created out of what the mind was doing. There was no longing to understand anything, there was no longing to stop anything, there was no movement to change the mind or stop the mind or block the mind or modify the content. Nothing. Just observation, only observation. And when I say mind, I mean everything, even the sensations, even the bare sensations, even the feeling of discomfort, anxiety, whatever was showing up. There was just no effort at all to change anything. So, what happened is that none of this content, which is all time, this is all thought based time because it is based on the subject object, the pseudo subject would drop immediately. You see, none of these arisings can happen without the subject. So, subject is the illusion. The moment the illusion drops, the resistance drops, even the objects drop. So, what remains is the spaciousness. So, even while these contents were playing out, I never, I can say, lost the spaciousness, which is Ananda. So, the conscious being is bliss. The spaciousness is bliss, or you can call it the awareness is bliss. It is not a feeling of happiness as we understand in our daily living. Because in our daily living, we get happiness through acquisition of something. But this is not a process of acquisition, it is a process of removal. So when one thing, one object, second object, third object, when I say object, I mean anything which the mind perceives as the other. Okay, this feeling, this thought, this idea in the mind, okay, my family, my children, everything, it begins to just drop. And all I remain is with the pure presence or the Ananda. That is it. That is, so the mind will obviously try to grab hold of the awareness because it is so blissful. It sort of becomes, I can say, like an addiction that you want it. And it is something, it is a good thing. It's not a bad thing because it keeps you going back into, keeps you going back. All the time you go back. Sometimes you struggle, but then slowly you stop putting the effort to get there. And then you realize that you're naturally relaxing into it. And then your body, mind, everything is integrated in that awareness. And it is a very natural feeling. That's why Ramana Maharishi said that it is the most ordinary thing. It is the most natural state. He used the word natural state. He never used it as an extraordinary experience made up of bliss, made up of the visions of gods and goddesses, nothing like that. He just called it, he didn't even, he said that even the blank that you see is not it. He said even the blankness is not it. What that means is, yes, mind can be quiet in different moments, but that's not it. Even when the mind is running, there is that awareness which becomes dominant at some point. So I described it as the content being in the background and the awareness in the forefront. And he said, then, then nothing is seen from that narrow vision. Everything is seen with a very expansive vision, in that everything is allowed, everything is playing. So that is
I,
the,
I,
yeah, go on. Yeah.
I know we're just about out of time, but I'd like to ask you just kind of a follow-up question.
Yeah.
So I think what I'm starting to understand is it's not an either or, it's a both and.
Yes.
So that when the content is in the foreground,
Mm.
that could be equated to collapsing my identity into just the content.
Yes.
But if the awareness is allowed to move to the front, it doesn't mean, I guess sometimes I've been confused by the observer
Mhm.
concept
Mhm.
because that seems to have an inherent definition in that you lose the experience of the content.
Mhm.
But what I'm hearing you talk about is if the awareness is in the foreground and the content is in the background,
Yeah.
you don't that doesn't um that doesn't mean that you lose the experience of the
No.
content.
Yeah.
You just don't collapse your identity into it.
Exactly. And that, so that you not collapsing your identity into the content is called pure experiencing, is what I described in the meditation as pure experiencing, which means there is no reaction to anything, no reaction at all. It is there in total acceptance, and there is a level of comfort, a level of blissfulness or spaciousness to hold everything in that space. The mind can produce the worst of projections in that space, worst of dialogues, but none of it is going to affect. None of it is going to have any emotional, no, I would say there could be emotional charge, but even that wouldn't be a problem because there will be this knowing that nothing can be touched here. This here is separate, totally separate. So not collapsing the identity becomes then pure experiencing because there is no judgment, no analysis towards what is arising. And that itself is bliss.
Yeah, this is helpful. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right.